Greetings, Instagram world. Hope all is well out there in the world tonight. Welcome to a special edition of the Mattyrocks Experience, the Instagram live sessions on a Tuesday night. And normally you see me on a Friday night, but now the Mattyrocks Experience Instagram live sessions will come to you any night that works for me and the artist. So, on this special edition, Tuesday night, I am very excited to speak with a musician, a rocker that I've wanted to talk with for a very long time, and that is LA rocker, lead frontman of the band Butterside, Mr. Patrick Stone, and I'm going to bring him on right now.
What's up?
Wow! Finally, after, I don't know, all these years, you and I finally get the opportunity to sit one-on-one together.
Yeah, what's up, man?
How are you?
Keep pushing it back. I'm glad that we're finally doing this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know, I didn't realize that I could do this from a hotel room. And
Yeah.
I'm pretty proud of myself for my little, dang it, it's not going to work.
You
Well,
could do
we'll
it
be
from
able to.
anywhere, really. You could do it from a bathroom if you wanted to.
Absolutely. I was going to do it from bed, but I didn't think that would be good.
No, that'd be good. We got the full relaxed version of you. You'll let us know things that you might not have.
Exactly. So hopefully all is well with you during this time and you are safe and healthy. I know it's early in 2021, but Patrick, have you transitioned into 2021 good so far?
It's been a little rough. It's funny. I've been watching, been catching up on all the things that you are doing, and I've noticed how, concerned you were with the whole COVID thing that went down, but you're also associated with a lot of Alzheimer's issues and stuff like that. And a lot of that came to a true head for me last year, 2020. I lost my father to COVID, and before that, I was losing him to Alzheimer's. So I've got
Oh,
a little bit of a rough start to 2021. I'm trying to understand what it's like to live without, that person in my life, and it's been proving to be, it's difficult, to say the least. But I think I found myself really trying to become an even better person because of it, and it's got me focused more so on my career and my life and where I'm going and why I'm doing everything more so than ever before. So I feel like it's going to do a lot of good for 2021 for us and the band for sure.
right. Well, thank you for sharing that with me, and thoughts and prayers to you and the family.
Yeah, thank you.
It is a tough disease to deal with. It is what I call the thief of a disease.
Yeah.
And if you really think about it, Patrick, where are people talking about Alzheimer's?
Right. Right. It's just this thing that like you find out that it's crazy. The more and more you do talk to people about it, the more you find out that people have experienced it. You know what I mean? It's like it's it felt to me like something I hadn't really thought of, and then you find out that everybody knows somebody indirectly that is suffering from it, or has a family member that's suffering from it, and it's just one of these things that like there's just no cure, you know, so people just accept it, and it's, I mean, more so horrifying. I just think that the quality of life is just raped from somebody when that happens to them. It's just watching my father go through it was, he never he hadn't forgotten who I was. So in a certain way, I feel, I don't want to say blessed or it's just such a catch-22. I wish he was still here, but at the same time, I didn't want to see him go into those deeper and darkest parts of where like he can't remember who I am, or maybe he's staring at a wall and just drooling all day. But it was rough to walk him through the last 5 or 6 years. He was just slowly but surely, missing a little bit more. But it was still great to have him around, and he always kept that sense of humor, and his charm and his charisma was always still there, and it was just such a joy to be around. But COVID came and grabbed him before anything else could. So wrote some
Well,
great music about the whole experience, and we've recorded it already. We've gone up back. We went up to the whole band went up to Tahoe, where he lived, which is, I think, the most beautiful place on earth. And we paid tribute to him by filming the music video that we wrote about him, right there on the shore and up in the mountains in the snow. And the snow was coming down, and it was gorgeous. And now we're going to add some special effects to that to bring this whole kind of really exciting thing's going to happen. So I can't wait to share that with you. So some good stuff is coming out of it. And again, it's, losing somebody that close to me has just made me want to be a better person. And, you think twice about doing some of the things you might have done before, because you think that extra angel is over your shoulder watching you. So he's a strong one for sure.
absolutely. And I know that my mom's a strong angel for sure, because of what her and I shared the last 2 days of her with us, was very special to me. And I believe that my mother is guiding me and with me at certain times.
Yeah.
So, but Patrick joined the fight with me in the fight of Alzheimer's.
Was she had Alzheimer's herself?
She did. She had dementia, and she had the beginning stages of Alzheimer's.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
But
100%, I'm with you. So with you. And anyone out there that's suffering, anytime if anybody watching or anybody reads this or anything like that, it's something that I'm still in a grieving and a healing process. So if anybody wants to reach out to me at any time, I think that's one role in life that I will always accept the challenge or accept the call to be there. So DM me and reach out to me. I'd love to talk to you about it. I'm always happy to talk about how much my father meant to me and how he, he was just such an influential part of my life. And I'm sure your mother was too. I mean, whose mother isn't, I was just thinking of that today. I was like, gosh, I can't even imagine losing her. You know what I mean? It's like this whole half of you is gone. This whole half of your existence, it's not there anymore. It's like trying to make sense out of it all just for yourself. And it's like, I at least I still have my mother, which, I feel for you deeply, because my mother's my favorite person on the planet. She's my favorite thing on the planet. And I can't imagine being without her. And my father was the same. And now that he's gone, you have to accept it. But to be alone, do you still have your father?
I lost my father at the early age of 44 when I was 6 years old. And I will tell you that when I lost my mom, excuse me, I'm going to.
Okay. It's okay, brother. It's okay. That's why we're here.
When you lose both parents and you wake up and you don't have that friend with you anymore. I didn't know this was going to happen.
I hear you. I hear you. I kind of told myself, like, keep it on the, it's wonderful that we can connect like this, man. You need to let those things flow. You know what I mean? That's the space, that we're amongst friends. Anybody chiming in, I'm sure they're rooting for both of us. And you know what? That's a beautiful thing, that you're that connected to her still and to him still. That, I mean, you were so young for that to draw that kind of an emotion. I mean, you got so much love in your heart, man. That's such a beautiful thing. That's something you should cherish, and that makes you're strong for being able to have those emotions, man. That means you were connected to them so deeply, and that's something you should be grateful for.
Thank you. But yeah, when you wake up and you don't have those special people in your life anymore, you don't have that, you can't make that phone call, you can't bounce that decision off, your mom.
Right.
Man, I tell you, it's painful. It's painful. And it was a hard, to wake up, after losing my mom and realizing that, man, I don't have parents anymore. I don't have parents anymore. And it was, at that age, later in life, it still affected me really, really hard. So you only get one set of parents. Cherish them while they are here on this earth
Yeah,
every day.
for sure. It makes you focus on the, how, what's the gig, what are we really doing here,
Yep.
and because we're only given this certain amount of time, and I feel like, I don't know, just, it's like how do we explain, if I were to, I want to have children now too. Like, I mean, I've wanted them always. Um, and I've always thought that it'll happen someday. And it's just something I kind of like, I put off and I put off. And it's like, I need to have them now. You know what I mean? If I want to be around and like, not crawling when they graduate from school, you know what I mean? It's time to knock somebody up and do this thing. But, just seeing how much I loved my father and being there for him. And he was, at the end there, he was very alone as far as like people who knew him. I mean, all of his friends had died and they were all gone. And, him and my mother had divorced. So it was really only me, and he'd done some, some things maybe he shouldn't when it came to the relationship with my brother. And there's just only my brother and I for him there. And my brother wasn't really in the picture as much as I was. But it was just like, what if I don't end up having that relationship with a woman that I've dreamt of my whole life? What if I don't ever have that? What if I don't fall in love and have a partner and they're not there with me till the end? It would be wonderful if there was somebody in my life that loved me as much as I loved my father. So his name was Charles, and I couldn't help but, like, I kept walking to the car at these, the last few days he was there with us. I was lucky enough to be able to, the hospital called. They didn't think that he was going to make it through the night. We had COVID and all this other stuff. He was dying of COVID. He couldn't breathe. They had him on the machine. And, I had to jump in my car and literally drive through the snow for 8 hours in order to get up there. And then I was there, but they let me go in and see him. And I had that thought when I was going to the car every night, and I had to go home at some point and sleep and rest and eat. And I just thought to myself, there's got to be this little guy that, like, I want to inspire like my father inspired me. It was just this larger than life character. I'm looking at a picture of him here right now in front of me, and he's smiling. And it's funny, this is the first time that, like, I've looked at this picture and I can feel the smile. So far, it's just been this. It's crazy. And I'm amazed that we've gotten onto this topic myself, but you know what I mean? I think this is the coolest thing. I mean, I've told the damn story about, Lemmy, which I'm very grateful for, and all the questions that probably pop up in interviews. And, like, I can't tell you how grateful I am for all of that, but it's like, this is the real deal. I mean, the real reason that we're here is our families and what they bestowed upon us, and why we believe in what we believe is because of them. And it's made me think a little bit about, like, having somebody to leave behind that, because when we're gone, that's it. I mean, I have left music behind. My brother brought that up. My brother flew in and we spent the last few days with my father together. And my brother was like, when I go, because he doesn't have any kids of his own, he was like, what do I leave behind? Like, I don't, he reminded me that I've got this music, which has inspired me even more. Again, losing my father, now it's like I'm hell-bent to write. Like, I mean, I asked Alexa, I'm getting in the shower the other day. Hopefully she shouldn't hear me now and pick this up, but I asked her to play Chris Cornell the other day. And I mean, it was all day. I mean, song after song after song after recording after recording after recording. And just like the Beatles, it's like, I got to get my ass in gear and just write so many songs that some kid can get up in the morning and start listening to my music. And it takes him a couple days to get through the whole catalog. He listens to everything back to back. And there's just so many stories and things that come into your mind when you're listening to these guys that you respect. And you can't help but wonder, how much had they been through in order to write that much? And it's like, there's just so much I want to write about. So many experiences and stories in my life that I haven't given enough time and focus to write a song about. So again, hardship, Alzheimer's, COVID, all of these things, losing your family members, all of it is just another excuse to freaking get out of bed and do it right every day.
Absolutely. Well, a great, I mean, I had no idea that was going to start off like that, and I'm glad it did, because I think it's so healthy to talk through those things. And just like you're available, I'm literally a phone call away, a text away, Instagram DM away.
Yeah.
Patrick. So you know that if you need to talk about your dad.
Yeah, you too. You too, man. Seriously. Anytime.
All right. So during the pandemic, I want you to think back during the pandemic and quarantine. What have you been up to musically to keep yourself in the music groove?
The band members, man, we are on each other like flies on, like stink on, you know what? We wake up every day and like, there's a little message icon on your phone and it's never, I mean, it's usually somewhere between 70 to, I don't know, 150, sometimes over 200 messages are sitting there every time I wake up, or you let the phone go for a while. Basically, we're always hitting each other up. Those text messages, that feed is just full of musical ideas always. These guys are so passionate about music as well as I am. So the pandemic was just really our excuse to really hunker down and start writing. And we actually took it as an excuse to book some time with the producer that we've been dying to work with, somebody that was introduced to us through a very important person to us, put us in the studio with this guy. And we kind of went out there with basically nothing, a few ideas and some riffs. Basically, the pandemic brought on this load of an overload of creativity. We knew that like the end was going to come at some point. We wanted to be ready for it. So we had one album was already done, the Spiritual Violence album that we just put out. We'd basically done all the work for, except for 3 or 4 videos, I think. So the pandemic gave way to that. We recorded 4 incredible music videos. Those all came out since December. We've released all of those. We're trying to release one new song, one new video every 6 weeks roughly. So we began that campaign in December. At the same time, we were recording another album, which we will start to release probably towards the end of the summer when we hit Rocklahoma and everything else in fall when the tour season picks back up. But COVID paved the way for a lot of new songs for us, a lot of new creative videos that we put out. We did a lot of live streams. We got together constantly, even if it was virtually when it wasn't safe enough. We just wrote and became tighter. We became closer friends. We were all venting about the whole pandemic and the whole Black Lives Matter thing. We all went through that together. We all saw it. We all live in the same space, so we were all going through it together, and we just communicated and walked each other through it, and we were all there for each other. So it made us bond. So a lot of bonding, a lot of creativity, a lot of writing, a lot of hard work. We're excited for all of the hard work that we've done, so we have enough content to share with the world is there to pull from as soon as we hit the road, because once we can hit the road again, I don't think we ever want to come home.
Right on. So some positivity coming from the quarantine.
Yeah.
That's good. That's what we like to hear. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, Patrick, if there was one thing during quarantine that you realized about yourself that maybe you've never, ever really zeroed in on before, what is that thing?
Let's see.
Something came out. Like what? Did something manifest that you've never paid attention to before? And you were like, whoa.
I think maybe, it's funny. My friend Scotty Ludwig, he's been the manager for LA Guns for some time. And I think the answer lies in the conversation I just had with him. He snuck into town and he was literally 2 floors up from me in my building visiting another friend. And I got a call this morning and I went up and I'm sitting there talking to him. And I think just the pandemic was kind of like, it was this break where, I'd made a conscious decision to really, I thought I was really going full force at my career, but I think there were a lot of things that weren't quite clear as to the exact direction I need to go. And you need to be super focused as to exactly where you're going with your career, or else you can't leave anything to chance. And you can't be fuzzy about anything. Everything's got to be crystal clear. And I think I got that focus over the pandemic, only because I was allowed to test myself with these new guys that are in the group. We've kind of revamped the whole thing, the band members and the face of the band the lineup changed, and having us all together when we were basically all we had it's just like it was all we had was each other, and that proved to be enough because all we really want is music from life. So I think it was not something that basically I don't think I'd ever thought of before, but it was just kind of refining the entire idea. And sitting with Scotty just now, it was just like, talking to him before, he would bring up tours that like, maybe we might be interested in getting on, or people I might be interested in working with. And this time the conversation was more like, I just felt like you know, he just wants to help. He's just such a great dude that he always wants to help out in any way he can. But I felt like he was at a loss because I don't think he thinks he needs to help me anymore. I think that he sees this thing blowing up into what I've always wanted it to become. And I think everybody that's involved is seeing the same thing. So I think you want to talk about manifesting. I think, yes, I think that the last year and the pandemic has allowed me to manifest exactly what is happening at this very moment. So the whole world shutting down was an excuse for me to bloom, you know.
Right on.
Just like when it's funny because when the whole pandemic hit, I'm looking out the window at the Hollywood sign right now, and I remember everything was green. Like we had this wonderful winter where there was so much rain, and when spring came, COVID hit, the streets were dead and the hills were alive. There was just so much nature and this rebirth happening. It's not as green as it was then, but yeah, it gave birth to a lot of new ideas, a lot of new hope. I'm grateful that the whole thing with my father didn't happen until December, because that kind of that inspiring feeling and that push to just get it all done probably wouldn't have happened if I'd been hit with that whole thing. I felt like I was getting through the whole COVID experience unscathed. Nobody I knew was really being completely affected directly, and then all of a sudden, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all of these people that were close to me, had issues with it. But we did a lot of work before that all happened, and I think that's manifesting everything, our dreams coming true right now. Yeah.
Right on. Patrick, if you would, I want you to take Matty Rocks listeners back to the early years of your life in Saratoga, California.
Yeah.
And I want you to give us an insight to how singing and music really came into your life.
I remember sitting on the bedroom floor of my sister's bedroom. I was probably 4 or 5 years old, and one of my first experiences were thumbing through her record collection. And I remember the Journey record, the Outer Space, and the guitar Spaceship, Boston's album cover, and but the one I remember most is the Highway to Hell record. Me being completely fascinated with Angus and like why is this okay? This guy's like, this is evil, this is the devil, but it's cool. And my sister dug it, and she was probably my biggest musical inspiration ever. My older sister, who I lost, God rest her soul, she committed suicide at 19 years old. And again, another guardian angel that's bestowed this, huge, this thing to live up to, because she thought I could do it. She encouraged me to do it. At 5 years old, I was tugging on my father's pant leg, telling him that I wanted to be a rock star. And high school in Saratoga was where it really started to prove itself. I'd already started writing songs when I was about 8. My sister gave me my first guitar. So a few years later, I taught myself to play well enough that I could do some chords and cover some songs. But I jumped in a cover band, I think probably first, second, third day of freshman year. This guy says, "Hey, I heard you're a singer, And I joined a band, and we were playing lunchtime. We were playing all the parties. We were playing parties when you shouldn't be partying, nights that were school nights and whatever else. We just went so out of control. And all the band did was cover Ozzy songs and Metallica songs. And that's Guns N' Roses songs, we just went off. So it all started there, and I got the reaction from the crowd, and I got girlfriends because of it, and we were cool because of it, and that's just it all settled in right there in Saratoga, California.
What was the name of that band early on?
Paragon, I think, was the first rendition, and then there
Okay.
was Retribution. Paragon was the one in high school, though. Yeah.
Okay. Who were some of the vocal influences early on in your life who have helped shape to make you the great, awesome sounding vocalist that you are today?
Oh, thanks, man. I remember so many as a kid. I mean, Michael Jackson was a huge influence. Prince was a huge influence. Um, I think vocally, it's crazy that this Peter Cetera of Chicago.
Oh, that's a
I,
great influence.
I always thought that he sounded to me like a more like a keyboard. You know, he sounded like there was just some like his voice just sounded. I don't want to say a robot, but it sounded like so perfect. It just was so full. And like I remember just wanting to sing and make somebody feel the way he made me feel when I listened to that stuff. But Bon Scott, again, going back to the Highway to Hell record, I mean, that just the coming off of the hinges, you know what I mean? All the screws coming loose when your voice opens up like his did was super attractive to me. The guy from Boston and those notes, just the the impossibility of ever being able to do that was how I felt. Like I felt like this was this huge journey I needed to knuckle under and really focus on to get to be that great. Jim Morrison, you know what I mean? His style, his charisma, his storytelling. That also was, I think, more important to me than the notes. I think Jim Morrison was a bigger influence as far as like a frontman and being that guy. Queen, of course, Freddie Mercury, Pink Floyd, um, all of those guys, their vocals and everything, just those were huge influences. Huge. Yeah.
Right on. I want you to touch on, you just touched on some of those earlier bands in high school, but I want you to include like I think, was it Mondo Kane
Yeah.
era and the Aces and Eights, but I want you to group all those experiences together. And I want you to talk about what experiences or how did those experiences playing in those groups help prepare you for being a performing touring singer later on?
Um, it's crazy because I feel like if I was the man I am today and I had those groups, I just, it's mind blowing to think about how successful we could have been. The drugs and everything that got in the way. Aces and Eights, not at all. I was Aces and Eights. I was completely sober, but all of the every group that I've ever been in has prepared me for this. And it's funny because it's like, you know, all of the things that are happening for me now, all of the people that I'm working with, you know, these guys are, you know, the professional people I'm talking about, the people that can actually get us somewhere, knock down some doors, kick down some, you know, some doors for us. Uh, you know, um, the spiritual education that I got from drugs and all of the stuff that I went through, the, you know, I think I paid a lot of dues in those bands, and I think all of them could have been so much greater if I'd been more focused. So, you know, I think that it's going to be even better now. I mean, I have a feeling that that's what the universe has had planned for me this whole time, and that's what I'm hoping for the most in life is that I'm walking into this unbelievable time in my life that I never could have dreamt could have been any better than I'd ever dreamt it could have been. In a sense that like if I'd gotten famous with Mondo Kane at 17, 18, 19 years old, that's when I was playing with those bands and I was playing at, you know, the Whiskey and the Roxy, and I wasn't even old enough to be in there. And we toured all over the place. We toured through Hawaii, all of Southern California, Northern California with those groups. And if I'd gotten any level of success at that time, I think I would have been just like the guys that were successful at that point, the Lane Staleys and the Scott Weilands and all these guys that lost their lives, you know. So in a sense, I'm grateful that like I didn't quite get that successful at that point, you know. It's a crazy thing to say because all I've ever wanted in life is to be a big rock star and whatever else. But it's important to me that I do it right, and that I'm glad that I can carry all of this. That I feel like I've got the Jim Morrison in me. I've got the Axl Rose due to like crazy amounts of training and, you know, technique and singing with, you know, the guys that were in his band, you know, all over the world together and singing those songs. Those were songs I never thought again I'd ever be able to sing. And then you hunker down and you really you really take some lessons and you refine that technique. So it's all prepared me in a sense that, you know, just like I'm ready for it now, you know, like I'm ready. It's not going to be surprising when it happens. It's not going to be a shock. I'm not going to take it for granted. Um, it's going to be something that's been a long time coming, well deserved, and I think that I'm going to handle it with, you know, like no one ever has before. You know.
Right on, right on. I want to jump. To Adler's Appetite. Is really when I came across you and discovered you as a singer. I remember you were playing. You were on tour with was it Black Sheep? So was it Black Sheep was opening for Adler's. Willie Bass.
Willie Bass. Yeah. Yes.
Willie Bass.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Willie. I miss you.
Yeah. Right.
But you were playing in a club in downtown Minneapolis, and I was there to support Willie.
That was Devil's Kitchen, right?
Something like that. I forgot the name. Something Kitchen. Hell's Kitchen.
Hell's Kitchen.
Hell's Kitchen.
Hell's
and it was L.A. Nick.
Yes.
Nick, who did the show.
Yeah, I remember that so well, like it was yesterday right now.
Yep. So I was there to support Willie and Patrick Abate on that. And I remember seeing you on stage, and I was like, who is this guy? Like, he's got some vocals. Like, he's got some vocal chops. You know, who is this guy? Well, it's you.
Yeah.
And here we are today.
Nice. That's so cool that you were there, man. That was a fun.
I was there. I
will never forget that show. I remember the what was the First Avenue's right down the street. I took some time out to run down and check that out because, again, a Prince, huge influence. I met a lot of people there that I'm still in contact with today. That was not only a cool show, like, I mean, that place with the statues and all that stuff. I remember those. I got some photos from there. They're some of my favorite photos ever. Like, just the crowd was just so cool. I remember walking away from that show thinking that we did a good job. That was really cool. And L.A. Nick, still friends with that guy, love him to death.
Yeah.
And how cool that we're together again. This is cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How did the Adler's Appetite experience come to be for you? How did it all take shape?
Shoot. I was auditioning for Velvet Revolver. We were recording some songs together, doing some demos. I got on Slash's radar. Again, thanks to Lemmy. Lemmy kicked down that door, called Slash, and told him I should be the replacement for Scott when he left. And I got a call from those guys and then started working with them. I was in Aces and Eights at the time, and we were playing out freaking every night of the week, nonstop. We just loved to play out in LA. We were opening for, go back a little bit. So Slash came out to play with us at the Viper Room, and Steven Adler came out and took advantage of their first time reuniting since the breakup. So it was the first time they had ever played together. And they both jumped on stage with my band Aces and Eights at the Viper Room, and the frickin' roof came off the place, and we did some Aerosmith covers and Guns N' Roses stuff. And I still look at those pictures, and fucking Slash and Steven are on stage with me, and we just fucking ripped that place a new asshole. It was so great. And then I got a call from Alex Grossi, who I'd been kind of moonlighting with Quiet Riot as well. But Alex thought that I'd be a good fit for Adler's band. And I went and auditioned for them and had a blast singing those songs at rehearsal. I think we did a couple rehearsals. There were a couple auditions. They had me back. And then it was like, why don't you guys come and see my band Aces and Eights? We're opening for Steel Panther over at the House of Blues. And my attorney, Kim Swartz, was Steel Panther's attorney at the time. And it was actually, I'll call him by his stage name, Michael Starr, I think was single-handedly responsible for putting the nail in the coffin, so to speak, with the gig, because I remember Steven and his whole band were up on the upper deck watching me, and Aces and Eights slayed that night at the House of Blues. It was cool. It was such a great band, and God rest his soul, Taz, my guitar player, just died, murdered. Anybody who watches this whole thing is just going to shake their heads at both of us. It's like, it's kind of depressing. It's kind of sad, but we carry all of this and we make ourselves soldier. It makes us stronger for it. All of these people that we've lost, but Aces and Eights slayed it that night. And then Kim invited me back to meet the guys from Steel Panther. And the moment I walked in the door, Ralph, his real name, Michael says,
Yep.
that's the fucking guy for your band. And Steven and his whole entourage, including Chips Enough and his brother Jamie, who's managing them now, all kind of like came to it was the moment where they all realized that I was the guy. Like, there's just no doubt about it. I was supposed to be the dude. And I remember, the room was just filled with so much smoke and standing there, and I kind of had this surreal moment where it was like the auditions were out of the way and I'm talking to Steven and Chip about, like, when we're going to pack up and get ready to go out on the road. And that was just so cool. I mean, I remember bouncing up and down on my bed, just practically a baby. You know what I mean? When I listened to Paradise City for the first time and I heard that clean chorus at the beginning, "Take me down," I just was like, it was an out of body experience. And I remember going to school and I had a jacket that had the Guns N' Roses emblem on the back. And, like, the seniors were all just making fun of me, like, "Hey, Axel," like they wanted to paint me as this wannabe guy, but I was just a fan. And yeah, I looked a little bit like him, and, like, I couldn't help it. And, like, I wasn't going to, like, not listen to it or pretend I wasn't a fan just because these guys wanted to be the way they were about it. But fast forward, a few years, and to even for me to look back on these pictures and just realize that I've become so close and tight with all of those guys, it's surreal. It really is. Like, there's been so many times where I'll be at parties and people are bragging about this or talking about that, and, like, I'll just bite my lip because there's stories that come to mind that I just want to start telling, and I just know people aren't going to believe me. I mean, they're just that unreal.
Right.
So super blessed. But that's how that whole Steven Adler thing came to be. Yeah.
Was there any takeaways or experiences that you learned from Steven along the way that you've carried with you to this day?
Just like Lemmy, Steven's got this just wonderful demeanor about him. I think it's funny that they say, like, nice guys finish last, and Steven and Lemmy, born to lose, live to win, both of them, they're just so sweet. They're just such nice guys. And I think that sometimes doesn't get you to where your career might want to get you. You know what I mean? I just feel like Steven might have missed some opportunities along the way because he's been the nice guy. You know what I mean? He should be playing with Guns N' Roses. There's no fucking reason in the world why he shouldn't be out there sharing that glory with those guys. And it just doesn't make any sense to me. And I can't figure out what it is that and Lemmy, he should have won way more Grammys. He should have won, it's just the band. I mean, they are in a certain way, they're more successful than any band ever has been. I mean, he has the respect. All of them have the respect of the people in the industry. I mean, David Grohl will say the same thing about both of those guys, that they're just the best people in the world, and they look up to them in so many ways. But the thing I took away from working with Steven, mainly, again, was something that Lemmy encouraged, that Todd Singerman, our manager, Lemmy's manager, our manager, encouraged me, and along the way, that, you need to be in control of your own destiny. And Steven is in control of his, and he has his own plans and his own direction that he wants to go in. And if he decides to take a left turn and I've got to take that left turn with him, I need to be able to accept that. So those kind of thoughts and decisions that he would make, kind of started wearing on me. And the whole time I was with Steven, Lemmy and Todd were encouraging me that if I was ready to do my music, which they'd heard and shared with me for a long time, that they were ready to back me up. And I just hadn't been ready yet. So the takeaway from it was that you need to be the master of your own destiny. And while being a part of his destiny was wonderful, and I would never trade it for anything, there did come a time where I had to say, this is somebody else's world and I want to live in my own. So the thing I took away from it is that it doesn't matter what legend you go and play with. you're only going to be as good as they were, at their height. So let's do my own thing, and let's see if I've got the goods. Let's see if I was put here for the reasons I thought that I was, and I've dreamt of being here for. And, all of the people I've lost and loved have believed that same thing. So let's put it to the test and get it right. So
Right on. And great transition to your world, Butterside. The formation and creation of the project. I mean, tell us, how did it come together, man?
Butterside. Butterside itself is that feeling, that experience, the place that your mind races to when you're listening to us on full volume. That's the Butterside. That's kind of the description and the definition that I've given to a name that I came up with when I was a child. Butterside has always been what I called my music. It doesn't have a rhyme or reason. You know what I mean? You can nitpick it and call it whatever you want, but the name is stuck and nobody else spells it the same. And by the end of the day, it's going to be like Foo Fighters. I mean, the first time that rolled off on my tongue, I thought it was the silliest thing I'd ever heard. And now it's the most iconic band that's out there. It's one of the biggest bands that ever has been. So that's kind of the idea behind the whole thing. It's the underdog. It's like, what's in a name. But Butterside is what I've called every song that I've ever written since I started writing music. And it's had a lot of different lineups. But it's never been more refined as it is. The picture that's behind you right now, that you see on the.
I hope that's the current one.
It is, and it's
okay.
The final.
Good.
It's the final one. If we don't, the next 6 months is going to dictate the entire destiny of this group. We've got a great, game plan laid out ahead of us. We're working with some people that we've always dreamt of playing with or dealing with. And I'm playing with the guys that I've always dreamt of playing with now. They're all exactly what I've ever wanted in a band member. They're all in it for the right reasons. They're all extremely talented. There's no musician in the world that they could go up against that they wouldn't hold their own to. So Butterside it's been a long time coming. It's taken a long time to figure out exactly how it's supposed to look and feel and sound. But I think we finally found that all of those things. And now the genre is defining itself. The sound is defining itself. The image is defining itself. I don't feel like we're trying to be somebody anymore. We're not trying to, convince you that we're great anymore. Here it is. And we know that it's got its place in millions and millions of hearts across the planet. We just have to get it to you. So it's a pyramid, man. It's a pyramid out in the middle of Egypt that's been being built, my entire life, and we're finally putting the final stones on it, and we're getting ready to communicate with the aliens.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. They're on Mars somewhere.
They're right here, man.
I know you talked a little bit about Lemmy, but I really want you to tell me. I really want you to talk about your relation with Lemmy and what he's been able to do, what he was able to do for you in helping you, because I know it was a very tight relationship.
I know so many people that spent a lot more time with him than I did. I know so many people that I feel like. It's just.
I mean, he hired you as a roadie.
Right. It was. It's just a magical thing, you know what I mean? This guy that, I watched so many people try to walk up to, and he's got security that keeps you away from him. But he was so open to he would have loved to talk to anybody. He wasn't a who's who do you know kind of a guy. He was just like a human being. His integrity is his integrity is the most valuable thing that I've taken from knowing him. It's just the most awesome part of who he was. So trying to live up to that and have it myself in the deepest sense possible is where I'm going with my destiny. He came into my life. He was best friends with a girlfriend that I fell in love with, and we were all doing dope together and hanging out constantly, just being complete and total lunatics. And he bestowed some faith in me at times with, whether it was possessions or things he needed done or relying on me for even a simple ride somewhere. But like any opportunity that ever rose up, I just jumped at the opportunity to be around this legendary figure. And I have to put, Phil is the same way. Phil Campbell, the guitar player, and Filthy Phil too. I spent a lot of time with Filthy Phil and the whole group, Mickey D included. But Mickey was, in another country half the time, so I didn't see him as much as Phil and Lem. But getting close to them was so easy just because I was brought in by this girlfriend, and we bonded on a friendship level. And Lemmy saw me struggling with dope too. I mean, I was slamming dope 6 times a day, and he knew it. You know what I mean? But he was so fucking balls to the walls, real. He could handle any situation. He could handle any dope fiend. He could handle anybody having any kind of crisis at any time. He was always solid. He was always the same guy, no matter how much he did, no matter how much he slept, no matter how much he ate or took care of himself or whatever you want to call it. He was always Lemmy. He was always right there. He was always just this solid backboard. And he just, you know what I mean? If I showed up and I was too spun out, I knew I had to calm down, and he would just kind of level me out. And we would enjoy things together, no matter how whacked out I was or how sober I was. We could look through his guitar collection or listen to music together, or I'd give him a ride somewhere, whether it was, all the way up in Northern California or out to a movie set that I brought him to. We worked on Deadwood together. He was just always the same guy. He was just always the same dude, always cool, calm, and collected, never had a bad thing to say about anybody. But if you accumulate all of the time, it's funny, like, man, you think about the guys that made the biggest impact in our lives, you know what I mean? All these guys that died, the 27 Club, you know what I mean? How fast they came in and smacked us with everything they had and then disappeared. And Lemmy was here for 70 rocking years, you know what I mean? He was here for this long time. But yeah, I mean, I think he influenced me in ways that I can't even describe, and things that I don't even really pinpoint or talk about. You know what I mean? Just being around that crew and seeing how they worked and seeing how you do it firsthand has kind of, probably settled in on my work ethic too. And like, just being no bullshit and just going forward and, not ripping anybody off along the way, and, really, having relationships with the people that you want to work with and making sure that they like you for the right reasons and you like them for the right reasons, and you influence each other and support one another. And yeah, Lemmy, where do you start or where do you end? I mean, it's
right
just,
on.
He's wow. Yeah,
Absolutely. Good story. Thank you for sharing. I want you to talk about the other members of Butterside, and what do they bring to the stage for this group?
What do they bring to the stage? It's explosive. The guys are just, I mean, you give any of them reign to like show off, and they'll steal the show. You know what I mean? We incorporated a bass solo, for crying out loud, into the set. As soon as Gabe Masco walked onto the scene, there was just this whole section of the set that became his time. Sam Bam Colton is 110% a guitar solo from the second he picks the thing up to the second he puts the thing down. So, I mean, his stage presence and his energy is unmatched. I've never seen somebody like him, and that's why the second that I first saw him, I knew that I had to have him in the group. And for him to have joined the group and be this solid member is a dream come true. I think that they feel the same way about me. He's constantly just scratching at my door with new ideas and writing, but as far as the stage goes, he's an explosion. And I'm an explosion. Jeff Dubray, too, is just an explosion. When he first came in, it's like some people were accusing me of getting rid of the old guy and replacing him with Jeff was because of these stick tricks and gimmicks, because he's just so alive. I remember, what was his name? Vicky Fox or whatever his name from Enough's Enough was, I'm so close with Chips Enough that all he did was talk about Vicky all the time. I think that's the guy's name, or the drummer. And this guy just looked like he was showing off and flipping and tripping and spinning and smiling and flipping his hair and everything more than he was playing the drums. But when it came down to it, the guy was playing a solid set of drums. But Jeff is like, Dave Grohl on the drums. I mean, he just did something on Instagram where he does these covers, you know what I mean? He's playing in his living room along the songs of his heroes. and he did Dave Grohl cover and like fucking slapped every hit. He didn't miss a beat. And the whole time that we're on stage, Jeff is I mean, you can't get a good look at his face because he's just a blur. He's just always moving his hands. He's just always rocking out. That energy just comes back. I can feel it on my back, and that just pushes me to be bigger, brighter, better, and hopefully as good as them. Logan too. I mean, just you never see his face. He's rocking out so hard. His hair is just like a whip. He's like Indiana Jones's whip, just cracking every snake in the freaking place. I mean, every guy is just firing at 110%. And, you know, we've been out on the road for months at a time already. This lineup has gone out and we just kick the shit out of the crowd. I mean, it's undeniable. I mean, no matter how big or how small, I mean, the crowd just goes freaking nuts. Now that we've been writing together, you want to talk about off stage, we started writing together, and the new music is just, it's finally at the level that I've always dreamt of being a songwriter and being a part of. And I can't wait to show you the next batch. Spiritual Violence, woo, great record, but it's all gearing up like that pyramid we were talking about before. Musically, it's just gonna come off the freaking, you watch. It's gonna get in for everybody's heads.
Right on.
Yes.
2 album releases so far. Your self-titled in 2016, and the newest 8-track release, Spiritual Violence. How is that release doing for you so far?
It's you know, we've known that putting it out during the pandemic and with the space that had come between the first and the second album, we knew that it was going to be a bit of a, you know, just we're just getting it out there. We're warming everybody up. We're really warming everybody up for what's coming next. And you know, I haven't seen a bad review. I mean, we did PR all over Japan. We had PR in Germany. We had PR in the UK, and here in the United States, super strong. It's gotten more radio play than I thought it was going to get. I mean, it's been played all over the country time and time over. Every time we release a song, it's getting picked up and having, you know, a great response. I haven't seen a review of it that had anything bad to say. You know, I've seen a couple of them kind of trail off, and I think the worst thing I heard somebody say was that, you know, maybe the last 2 or 3 songs weren't as strong as the first 2 or 3 songs. But that's about the worst thing I've heard said about it. And they're all coming in at like 9.5 out of 10 or 4.5 out of 5. The reviews are strong, and I'm super proud of this record. I mean, it speaks volumes about how far we've come as songwriters. I think that I was able to capture the truth and the message behind the emotions and the stuff I was going through at the time enough to share these songs with people. I think people are getting it. Yeah, but you know, I see bands like our good friend Carla Harvey from the Butcher Babies. You know, they are in the same family that we are working with professionally now, that we're gearing up to finally really do something with. They're working with already, and I see them come out with, you know, their video just hit 1 million views, you know, and their songs have 1 million streams, and these are the kind of numbers that you're dreaming about, and this is where I see us heading, you know. And this album isn't quite getting that traction yet. I think it deserves that kind of traction, but you need to have, again, relationships, your integrity, how you get in with these people that are in these power positions. You know, they have to want to help you. And I think that, again, everything that I've learned from Mondo Kane and all this, the great question that you asked, where's it, you know, what has it brought me to? It's brought me to learning about all of the really important things that maybe, you know, somebody who had some flash in the pan career who shot to stardom and then faded away and now their lives are shit, you know, that they didn't have. And I'm hoping that that's going to carry me on and make me and us a contender in the world of rock and roll for years and years to come.
Well, look at that. You've had an interview with Mattyrocks before Butcher Babies. So at some point they will get their moment with me. So pass that word on.
Oh yeah, they're great, man. Carlos and Heidi too, man. They've been through so much. They deserve where they're at. You know, again, they had it refined. I think, you know, you can't leave anything up to chance. You know what I mean? And they had a great strategy of like how they were going to get to where they wanted to go. And I've always been, again, referencing Jim Morrison and stuff like that. It's like you can't, I'm not going to say he got lucky, but you can't leave things to chance anymore. You know, they had a refined vision and they shot for it, and now they're reaping the rewards, you know. And I think we have that now too, and we're going to be doing the same thing pretty quick.
Absolutely. So I want you to talk about the work that you guys did with Jay Baumgartner and Howie Weinberg, because they're a big part of spiritual violence, and these are two guys in the industry. Again, it's, you know, these key players. They're heavy hitters, and they've got some big resumes.
You know, what's crazy is Eric German just joined, and he's one of these guys I've been talking about. Eric's ears must have been burning. Huge shout out to him. I was just talking about Butcher Babies, Eric. He's logged in here, but man, this is my favorite guy on the planet. I mean, he's the motivational dude. He's the power behind, you know, the dream that I have alive is because of this guy and a few chosen others that I have. I was watching an inspirational speaker the other day who said that you're only as strong as the 5 most successful people you hang out with. Actually, you are the success level of an average of the 5 people you hang out with most. So on my list of people to hang out with daily is Eric German, Matt Pinfield, myself, and I still have to figure out the 2 others because, you know, I need some other successful people in my life to constantly hang out with to bring up my average success level. But that got off the beaten path. Howie Weinberg sitting in that chair where Kurt Cobain sat, listening back to, you know, Smells Like Teen Spirit with the same dude who mastered that record. Yeah, super mind-blowing. I mean, that whole compound he's got up there is just out of this world. So that last phase of the recording sessions with Jay Baumgartner, that led to Howie and sitting there, and that was just you know, listening to our music, my music in that room. You know, there's no better place to listen to your songs. I mean, that's the moment there where you feel like, you know, that's where you feel all of the hard work paying off. And Jay Baumgartner, just a remarkable producer. You know, I mean, he's worked with so many legends. You know, so many of our heroes. You know, that studio he has is only just it's a magical place, but it's a museum too. I mean, I sang on Chester's mic. You know, the piano that was used by Johnny Cash was used on the cover of the Johnny Cash song that we did there. So just the most incredible, it was like an out-of-body experience. But as we go on, you know, it's just like music just has that's why we're here, you know. That's why we're here. But that's why I'm in it, is to work with these powerful, magical characters, you know, like Jay. But working with Jay was great. He would come in and just like, you know, just like Eric, just like Lemmy, if there's bullshit in there anywhere, he just says, this is bullshit, get rid of that, and let's do something else, and you try something new until you get the truth.
Right on. You had some special guests on the album.
Yeah, some pretty
Carla and Phil.
Yeah, Carla Slade, she brought the devil. It's funny, she sounds like the dude on the track, and I sound like the chick on Amber Alert, and she did an amazing job. She came all the way out and filmed the video for the thing with us. Love her to death. And they are just blowing up. They're getting everything that they deserve right now. But yeah, Carla's been a lifelong friend, not lifelong, but she's been a friend for a long time. We sat in her Corvette listening to demos of hers before Butcher Babies was even an idea in her head. And, you know, before Butterside was a legit, you know, outfit, we would listen to each other's demos and encourage each other to rock. So when it came time to do something together, she jumped on the opportunity. I'm so grateful that she did. The video's doing pretty well. It's gotten you know, on some pretty cool playlists, and it's climbing up there. You know, not like theirs. They just hit 1 million views, and I think we're approaching 100,000. But everything's falling into place the way it should, and we're going to get to experience some wonderful and great things this year, thanks to this record and the one we've got coming out soon. Phil Campbell, of course, those recordings that he did with us, we actually recorded with Paul Kilmister, Lemmy's son, produced the first record. And Pardon Me, the song that I wrote for Lem, was actually written for Lem, and Lem heard versions of it before he died. But the recording process came to an end because Lemmy died and Paul decided to move on, and we only had those 10 songs for the first record. So we had these tracks kind of lingering out there, these extra, this track, Pardon Me, hadn't been put out yet. So when I went into the studio with Jay, I asked if we could just pull up those solo sections that Phil did, put them to a click, and then recreate the song from scratch with Jay. And I think we did a beautiful job doing that. We recreated the whole song. I think we did it brighter and better and way cooler than it was before, heavier. And we were able to put Phil's guitar solo right in there. And then there's a whole cello. There's cellists and violinists on that track too, just out of control. And then other special guests, the musical choir, the children's choir that's on this record, just came in and slayed. Just amazing to hear that stuff. When you listen, like, wait a minute, there's a children's choir in the middle of this song. Crazy. Really cool.
Good stuff. It all sounded great. Patrick, what do you want the world to know about Butterside and the music that you guys are all putting out?
It's just, you can't get any more real than what this is. You know, you want a real rock and roll experience. You want stories that are true and interesting and real. You know, we're the place to go. You're gonna feel what we've been through when you listen to our music. You'll be technically challenged if that's what you're into music for. You'll be emotionally uplifted or taken somewhere to share the experiences that are so relatable inside of the music. So I would say just let us into your hearts. Let us find a place in there, because it's something good to have inside of you. I think that we have a lot to share with the world, and I think the world has a lot to share with us through our music.
I know you just a few minutes ago, you talked about the members of the band and what they bring to the band. But what will be the one key ingredient for all of you that will keep this group intact, this lineup intact, and releasing more music to come in all these years, next upcoming years?
The friendship is the main thing. I think the fact that we talk to each other every day, we're all checking in on each other. We all keep each other firing on all cylinders. We're all making sure that we're doing everything that we possibly can do to get to that place where our dream has come true. We all want it as badly as the other guy does. So, if one of us slacks off, the other guys are going to excel, and if you can't slow down. So we're all pushing each other just as hard as I think members of a band could possibly push each other. And I don't know, how many successful bands are led by just one guy and the rest of the guys are phoning it in, but this band it's everyone, all day, every day. And they are dying, the guys and I are dying to, it's all about creating those songs. We got, like I said, we went off when we worked with this amazing producer, Matt Good, recently, and the level of our music and the sound and everything came just blew up into something that we could have never imagined, and we're addicted to that. So we want to get back and do more of it. So, I don't have drugs anymore. That's what I've got. Sam's the same way. He doesn't do any drugs or anything like that. That is our drug. So you can bet your ass that we're going to be in there creating constantly and giving you new content. We're addicted to it. We want to give it to you. And I think people are getting a taste of it, and they're getting addicted to it themselves. So it's going to be a lot of give and take.
Absolutely. Patrick, I want you to reflect back on your entire career to date. You've been at this for a very long time. I want you to think about, what would you say has been your biggest musical accomplishment to date?
Believing in myself today like I have never before. That's the biggest accomplishment. I mean, just knowing that I deserve what I believe and dream of having. I think that's always been part of my existing. Like, I don't feel like if I'm not allowed to have something, or I don't deserve something, I feel like I accidentally let it fade away or slip through my fingers. And I just know that I deserve it now. I've been working so hard, and I've done A, B, C, and D all the way through the alphabet. Every check, everything on the checklist is checked off. And now it's just, the next 6 months are going to be challenging. You know what I mean? It's hard to get on a big tour. But I think that the thing that I'm most proud of is that I believe in myself now, and I believe that I deserve it. So, waking up every day and just making sure that I'm there for every phone call that I can possibly get on to make something happen. I know that I won't miss a beat. And when that phone call happens, all of the phone calls that are going to happen, and I'm on the other end of it for that good news is I think what I'm proud of most. The friends in my life, the people that I look up to the most and value the most in my walk of life are now my best friends, and that's a huge accomplishment, knowing that I have that support system and knowing that they can get the job done and get me where I want to go, and me getting to where I want to go gets them where they want to go. They want it just as badly as I do. So I think just being who I am and who I'm with, that's the biggest accomplishment.
And another huge accomplishment, Patrick, you have Butterside. I mean, that's your world. That's your world, man. So all the things you did before, and look what you did. You got Butterside, your world.
Our world together. It's got to be your world too.
Absolutely.
But
it's all of our worlds.
On and join me.
What does the future hold for Butterside? And you?
60,000 people a night. High-fiving. Right there.
Right on.
Yeah. No, we want some big tours. We want to release some big albums. We want to hit the charts. We're going to do it. It's all coming. Yeah.
Where are you gonna direct people that want to know more about Butterside and all the kick-ass music you guys are putting out?
Instagram's kind of our base of operations, but our website, you can't spell it. You can't find anything else. Nobody else is crazy enough to spell it the way we do. So Budderside, Butterside. Look us up for our Butterside.com, Butterside on Instagram, Facebook. All of those platforms have everything that we're doing up to date. Every day I'm on there, sending you what you should be checking out about us next.
Right on. And my interview would not be complete if I didn't bring up Deadwood.
Deadwood, hell yeah.
A show that I was hooked on for many, many years. I just watched the 2-hour movie not too long ago, but I want you to talk about your opportunity with Deadwood and how did all that come to be? Patrick Stone, the actor?
Yeah. When I was still getting high, a few of my friends were doing background work. And I remember that they were making enough money to survive, even if it was just barely enough. And when I was a junkie one day, and then the next day I wasn't. And that's because my father, God rest his soul, had a heart attack. And I raced up there to pray for his survival. And when God answered those prayers, I in turn kept my promises that I would never look back. And that led to this plan that I had. I could come back to Hollywood and make a go at surviving without dope and alcohol in my life or any of those people I used to associate with. And I knew that if I just, got on the computer and submitted myself for job day after day, that I would survive. And lo and behold, the universe opened up. I mean, I got one show after the next, and I think I was back in Hollywood for a week. I was only there for a week, and I was out on set of a movie called Mr. Hancock, or what was it? Something with Billy Bob Thornton, and I had this role of a cowboy, and I had to walk down the streets of Santa Paula, and I'm out there, and I had these purple freaking cowboy boots on. But David Milch, the creator of Deadwood, was out there for some reason visiting somebody, and he saw me and he said that I had the right look for this guy who had to murder somebody on his show. And right there, he picked me out of the crowd. And the next day I was at a fitting, at Western Costumes out there, and they dressed me up like this Pinkerton guy. And I was on set, and I didn't quite understand who David Milch was or how important he was, but I'm rubbing elbows with this guy every day. And everybody kind of had this look on their face like I wasn't supposed to be there, I wasn't supposed, like, this isn't the guy that but I was. And it turns out the guy had a heroin addiction, and he would give out money every week. All of the money that he used to spend on his dope, he would give out to the crew in a raffle every week. And I was right next to his side. He just didn't care that I was there. And, I know that all the other background guys were jealous. I was hanging out in the tent, eating the good food. I was there with David Milch. It turns out the guy's got the same birthday as me. He was really trippy and all into that kind of stuff, which has reaffirmed all of my crazy thoughts too, that like the coolest people in the world are freaking crazy. Like, And I loved that about him. And he seemed to love that about me too. So he gave me a few speaking lines on the show. We got to know each other well enough. You know, I brought Lemmy out to be on the show. I mean, the guys from Alice in Chains were there. The guys from ZZ Top were there. The guys from Anthrax were there. I mean, it was this freaking huge
Wow.
ensemble of like all of these rock stars on set of this crazy show, this Shakespearean writing that David did, brought it into this Western culture, and then, you know, all of the profanity and everything else that went along with it. I fell in love with the show. I remember back when we were getting high, talk about the drug days, Lemmy again was there, Phil was there, and every time that we heard the word cocksucker on the show, we'd do a fucking line or take a shot, and that would lead us to be more fucked up than anybody on the planet. And then to come back and be on this show was just, it was like, I felt like the universe, God was telling me, man, that like, you've made the right decision, man. I'm so proud of you. Here, take this. This is a reward for doing what you've done. And the rewards just got greater and greater and greater as I went along. I mean, I got on another show of his and whatever else. I got some killer freaking commercials. I mean, I literally spent, I think, 3 hours work one day that brought in like, you know, 100 grand or whatever for some USAA commercial. That was just nuts. You go to the mailbox and like, there's just this check, and you thought you couldn't afford a new leather jacket that day, and then you can buy two of them. But acting faded off as soon as I started getting more and more involved in music again, which is my passion, and I didn't care that there wasn't the money in it, that there wasn't acting. I started back up with Aces and Eights, and look at where that led me. So again, one surreal experience after the other, one reward after the next. You know, you do right and things happen right. So
Absolutely. Great story. Thank you for sharing that. That's going to make that rewatching that show even more special. So,
yeah.
All right, Patrick, I want you to take a moment. I'm going to give you the same opportunity that I give every artist that I have the opportunity to sit one-on-one with. And that's a message to Matty Rocks listeners all around the United States and around the world who are going to potentially hear this interview, see it. I want you to send a message to the Matty Rocks listeners. What would you like to say to them? Or anyone, your fans, your followers, all of our followers.
Just listen to that positive voice in your head. Shut down the one that says anything negative. That's not the one you should listen to. You can get everything that you want in life. It gets more and more beautiful the more you water that plant. The more beautiful it's going to grow into being, and that's what life is. Cherish every moment that you can with the ones you love. Call your mom and dad if you still got them, and tell them that you love them. Make plans to be with them. Listen to some Butterside. Yeah, what do I want to say to all your listeners? Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to be a part of your day, a part of your life. You know, thank you.
And thank you, Patrick. Thank you for taking the time out of your night for this conversation. It's meant a lot, and it was truly an honor. And
you too.
I hope that you and I can continue this down the road and pick up where we left off, and maybe do some follow-up interviews down the road.
Yeah, I'd love to be more involved with your campaign for Alzheimer's. I think people really, I think that there's things out there that we haven't done, and we can accomplish with that. I think it's a huge struggle that a lot of people, we should focus more on. I think we could do a lot with that. I applaud you for bringing that to people's attention, and I applaud you for getting emotional today with your story about your mom and your dad. It's amazing that you have that much love in your heart, and that they put that much into you. It's a beautiful thing that you can touch that. I'm grateful for the times that I become overly emotional about my father and my sister as well. It's like those are the times that they're touching you the most, and they're trying to make change inside of you. And I know that if we listen to those voices, to go back on what I was saying, if we listen to those voices, you can do things in your life that you never dreamt possible. Beautiful things.
Absolutely. I also want to let you know that the Alzheimer's Association, they're the LA chapter out there. They do a lot of great stuff. And, part of my healing process was becoming a volunteer. And I highly encourage, if that's something that you have some time for, Patrick, reach out to the LA chapter of the Alzheimer's Association. And they're on here on Instagram as Alzheimer's LA. And they do a great, Instagram live every 2 or 3 times a week. I even tune in to them. So I highly suggest you reach out to them. And we definitely got to spread the word. And let's get some more people involved. And let's go kick Alzheimer's ass.
Right on.
Okay.
Will do, man.
All right. You've heard it here, Matty Rocks listeners, live with Patrick Stone of Butterside. And again, truly an honor, my friend. And hopefully it doesn't take as long to talk again. Let's definitely stay in touch, and please stay healthy and safe through the rest of 2021 and avoid the whole COVID stuff. And let's get together soon.
Will do.
Matty Rocks, Patrick Stone.
Matty Rocks.
Wrapping it up. Matty Rocks, out.
Matty Rocks out.
Thanks again, Patrick.
All right, brother.